course, your worldview changes a lot when you go abroad. I also lived in China, and that, the cultural difference between America and Europe is minimal compared to the cultural difference between the West and China. So, the differences seem less. I suppose, well, my mentor, whose name was Robert D'Arista, was Italian. He's the man I went to American University to study with. So I suppose there was already a lot of Italian influence there. I don't know how much, it's impossible for me to separate myself, the different influences, that come from the outside world into myself, because they're all inside me and they all come out in painting. So I suppose I could talk about social differences in terms of human interactions and daily life and things like that. But it's difficult because probably the actual experiences of my life had more of an effect on my painting than where that place was. And for example, when I was in the south of France for many years, of course, it's Cézanne country and Van Gogh country, etc. And the light is very strong. And I grew up on the East Coast in America. Okay, it's a nice place to grow up, but New York, Boston, it's kind of dark. It's like a world of values. And then you land in the south of France and it's suddenly a world of full color, because the sun is very strong, and just colors are much more saturated. And of course, the minute you land there, you understand this is why Bonnard painted like this when he went to Saint Cana, and this is why Van Gogh went to the Japan of the South. He called it Arke, because there is a great saturation of sunlight, and it has to do with a lot of things, but one of them is that the earth itself is very light color, because there's a lot of limestone in the dirt, and so the sun lands and it reflects back up, so it makes things very bright. Anyway, so that absolutely affected how I painted, because I couldn't deal with the amount of color and light that was entering my eye. I paint from life, and for the first probably 6 months when I was in Aix-en-Provence, I would only go out painting after the sun went down. And I don't mean down nighttime, I mean low enough so that in the town I wasn't getting direct sunlight on everything. It was, there was enough shadow. There was light and shadow. I was a tonal painter. And so that was lovely. And when I was out in the sun, it was just kind of overly saturated, blindingly colorful. So eventually I figured out how to deal with that. And that involved a great change in my painting. So, I'm not talking about the French culture and the fact that we eat croissants in the morning. I'm talking about a very specific, almost, weather and geographical event. And in China, just to say, I had a different experience that didn't have to do with color and light. It had to do with chaos, because China's very crowded. There are, well, Europe is more crowded than the United States in general in terms of the amount of people on the streets, but it's nothing compared to China, where your personal space ends inside your skin. There's just, people are everywhere all the time. Stuff is everywhere. The Chinese letters are on the walls everywhere. It's just total chaos. There's not 1 inch of a smooth surface anywhere, at least the time when I was there. And not to mention the chaos of the language and the chaos of how people interact with each, it's just a different universe. I was in total chaos. And previous to that, I think my paintings were very concerned with finding order and structure. Well, they still are. And peace and simplicity. And when I landed there, it's like, oh my God, what do you do with this? It was torture. So it did change my painting a lot, because it became about how do you find order in chaos. You have to thrive and enjoy the chaos and take it all and structure it into something. And so that came from my experience of being in a that foreign and chaotic a culture. And I'm still, I still love chaos.